Hello and welcome to Untwisted Threads. This is Sandnes Garn Tynn Silk Mohair. This 57% mohair, 28% silk, and 15% wool yarn features 54 colors. The colorway that we chose is 3553 Dusty Plum Pink. This 25 gram skein with 212 meters or 232 yards works up as a lace weight yarn. The suggested gauge on a US 2.5 to 8 or 3 to 5 millimeter needles is 18 to 24 stitches per 4 inches or 10 centimeters. For our swatch, I will be holding a double and using a 4.5 millimeter needle size. In today's video, we're going to review and score Sandnes Garn Tynn Silk Mohair using our 5 categories, which are availability, softness, traction, durability, and cost, to help you decide if this is the best yarn for you and your next project. Stay tuned until the end for a few pattern recommendations as well. Would you like to feel a sample of our top picks out of over 100 yarns that we have reviewed on this channel? Click the link below to get your first month's free specialty yarn card, knitting patterns, and more. Let's get started. For availability, we give Tynn Silk Mohair a score of 3.5 out of 5. Sandnes Garn originates from Norway, and typically when a yarn brand is European-based, it's not always very common here in the States. Although this yarn isn't available on many major craft websites here in the US or even in the UK that we know of, there are quite a few purchasing options from smaller craft shops. I imagine in the UK and Europe, this yarn is probably at quite a few, if not all of your local yarn shops. For softness, we give it a score of 4.2 out of 5. The shiny silk cord mohair was, well, honestly not as soft as I was anticipating. In my head, I picture mohair as super soft and fuzzy and luxurious. No, it wasn't bad, prickly, or scratchy, but surprisingly almost a little drying and irritating over time. It wasn't shedding all over the place, but by no means was I blown away with it either. Granted, we haven't reviewed a ton of mohair yarns yet, but I'm not quite sure if this one would make a top spot. For comparison though, it is ever so slightly softer than Drop's Kid Silk Mohair, and not quite as soft as Cascade Yarn's Cantata. I'd say it's pretty comparable to Sandnes Garn Kos. For a micron count or softness scale rating, it's estimated that it's an 18.5. I'm not sure if I quite agree with that, as I felt merino yarns with a larger micron count that feels softer. This one did soften a tiny bit after blocking, but it's just not what I was thinking that it would be like. When it comes to breathability, all of these natural fibers have properties that promote air circulation. Depending on if or what additional yarn you pair this with, it can create a fabric that will feel light, airy, and comfortable to wear while still providing warmth. For traction, we give it a score of 4 out of 5. For being a mohair, it wasn't too difficult to work with. Since it is so thin, I think it would be easier if it was held double with a thicker yarn, as even holding a lace weight double, it almost feels like I need a magnifying glass to see what I'm doing. But that's not against this yarn specifically, just lace weights in general. Anyways, since it did become a little bit more drying over time, that did make it less enjoyable and not really my favorite to work with. My needles did get caught in between the fibers once, so that's something you might need to keep an eye out for. It absolutely could just be my user error too. For durability, we give it a score of 4 out of 5. While mohair and silk are fairly strong and resilient, it's actually still somewhat delicate. Mohair fibers are soft and thin and can be more susceptible to damage from abrasion or friction. Over time, this can cause a lot of pilling or wear in places like the underarms of a garment. And although silk is smooth and shiny, it can also weaken with repeated wear. And because this is not superwash treated, you'll need to be cautious when washing it by hand. When it came to our stress test, we noticed 2 very small pill balls and a collection of fibers. For cost, we give it a score of 3.3 out of 5. For being a 25-gram skein, you can expect to pay $14 US per skein. That breaks down to about 6 cents per yard, meaning a size medium sweater quantity would cost approximately $70, not including a second strand of yarn if you wish. Overall, we give Sandnes Garn Tynn Silk Mohair a score of 3.8 out of 5. So this may not be the softest mohair that we felt, but it certainly has some potential with its availability and popularity. Personally, with my sensitive skin, I think I've come to like Surrey alpacas more than mohair in general. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against or hating on mohair by any means. I think perhaps there are just softer options for me. So we had a little look on Ravelry and wanted to share a few pattern recommendations with you, hopefully to inspire you if you're wanting to use this yarn for a project of your own. The first pattern is the Wrap Me Up Cardigan by Plummum. It comes in 5 sizes ranging from extra small to extra large. It suggests using 4 strands of lace weight yarn and a US 11 or 8mm needle size to meet gauge. It is knitted from the top down with raglan increases. The fine, ribbed edge on the neck and sides are knit at the same time as the rest of the cardigan. With this design being seamless, you're able to try it on as you go and make any adjustments as needed. The next pattern is the Mohair Bias Loop by Hutchin. It comes in 1 size with finished measurements of approximately 16 to 17 inches by 42 inches around. It suggests using a US 10.5 or 6.5mm needle and a lace weight yarn to meet gauge. It also mentions a size J or 6mm crochet hook for the provisional cast on. It is knit on the bias to help keep the edges from rolling. It's a seamless, sheer, long, endless scarf, double twisted cowl, or shoulder wrap. The last pattern is the Lina cardigan by Anna Strandberg. It comes in 9 sizes with finished measurements ranging from extra small to 5XL and recommends positive ease. It suggests using a US 6 or 4mm needle size and 1 strand of fingering and 1 strand of lace weight or 2 strands of lace mohair yarn to meet gauge. It is worked from the top down in one piece. It's an oversized V-neck cardigan with a slip stitch pattern, creating the illusion of a fabric that has been woven. Have you used Sandnes Garn Tynn Silk Mohair yarn before? What yarn would you like for us to do a review on next? We would love to hear your thoughts and recommendations in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's review, please give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.